Welcome to Sisters Voices. Thank you for coming. Thank you for signing up. I just want you to please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So my name is Gertrude Bibi Annoh Quarshie, and I am currently the Director of Operations at AWDF. In terms of who I am, I always try not to focus on work as in that's being the only part of my life. Personally, I describe myself as a person who really values life and is grateful for each and every moment that I find myself here on this earth. And I'm constantly asking myself if I'm putting all my skills and talents to the best of my abilities. And that is what kind of motivates everything that I do. I'm also very much value driven. I think that who I am is defined by my values and how I live my values. And therefore, on a day-to-day basis, I also measure my success and my joy in life based on how much I'm able to live to my own values and not be, pushed in any direction. Because when I do things inconsistent with my values, I feel it emotionally. So I'm also somebody who loves family, and so I describe myself as a sister to my siblings. I do take that seriously, and I invest time in doing that. I'm a daughter. My mother is over 80 now, and she's also the focus of a lot of my thoughts. And my kind of how I spend some of my free time, and I'm always constantly reminded that she's not going to be here forever, and therefore I really need to make time to spend a lot of time with her. I'm married. I have two teenage children, and so I also make a conscious effort to devote some of my time to those roles as well. When I look at my children, I can't believe how much they've grown right in front of my eyes, but motherhood is a gift, and I enjoy every bit of that as well. And in terms of my work here at AWDF, I have been here since 2007. I used to be the finance manager, and 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, was appointed as director of operations. I am very excited to be part of the AWDF journey over the years. I look back on where the organization was in 2007, and I'm always excited that we have come thus far, and I am happy that I have contributed to where AWDF is now. I count myself very, very, very lucky and fortunate because I love the work that I do. And I know that not everybody has that kind of opportunity, because of economic and other circumstances. People are dragged to do work that they don't love. And that was one of the things that I really, really, when I was thinking about my future, I always said, I hope I don't end up in a job that I don't love. And in the places I've previously worked, I always left when I reached the point where I felt that, I had no joy coming to work every day. And that for me is one of the things that really moves me to take that decision that no, I will not spend my time doing something I don't love. So when I get to that situation, and it's not a decision that you reach lightly. So whenever I find myself in that situation, I'm like, no, I have to enjoy coming to work, and I'm very, very happy to be here at AWDF all these years. So that's me in a nutshell.
That is such a wonderful summation of all your beautiful characteristics and all the beautiful parts of your life. I love it. But in preparation for this interview, I was reading up on some of your articles that you wrote on the AWDF blogs, and the articles do tell the story of the time that you've been at AWDF. Some of them, the first one's like 2009, and then there are later ones that come. And there's so many different materials that you've produced for AWDF. And I was like, with such a breadth of knowledge, I want to get your perspective on economic security and what it means for women, but not just what it means for me. Because when I think about economic security, and I think this is something that a lot of people might share, is they think about money, like just money. But I wanted to get from your perspective, because you worked on this building capacity for women. You worked in finance, now you're working in operations. I feel like you have a unique perspective for understanding what economic security means from a feminist perspective, but also from the finance perspective. So can you share and like kind of give me a little bit of your thoughts on economic security for women in this way?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's a subject that is dear to my heart. Rightly so, for a whole number of reasons. I think that when we talk about economic security for women, it encompasses a whole lot of things. First of all, our aspiration really is that every woman needs agency, ability to take decisions for themselves and all the other things that come with it. And that is, for me, it's closely linked with economic security for women. So for me, it encompasses a number of things. Yes, money is one of the things, but it's not everything. It also includes capacity, because the market, it's global, if I should put it that way. And therefore, to be able to fully engage, it requires a number of skills and abilities. So in a nutshell, I would say economic security for women, it's about women's ability really to engage fully in the market out there, and also have all the opportunity to have all the access to all the markets out there, and not face any form of discrimination or another. So let's look at some of the elements around that. If we look at the financial markets, for instance, as it is now, a lot of it is digitalized. If you are, you should be able to engage with that. That means you need that literacy in that. And if you look at the women in Africa in general, there's a lot of limitation when it comes to that, because when it comes to education, not all women are up there in terms of the literacy skills that are required. When it comes to even the tools that are used to engage in that market, whether it is phones or computers or whatever, there is a limitation there. So once you don't have those tools, then you are discriminated against in terms of how you engage. So for women to be able to fully be secure around that, then that means that all the barriers need to be removed or eliminated in one way or the other, so that women can have access to inheritance rights, for instance, access to own land, and if we look at some of the data across Africa, we can clearly see, how many women own land versus men, if I should put it that way. For those who are into agriculture, most of them are small scale farmers, and a lot of them don't even own the land that they farm on, which limits their ability to grow on as far as that is concerned. A lot of women are in the informal sector in Africa, for instance, and there's very little protection when it comes to the informal sector, in terms of the laws that govern that, in terms of the work environments, in terms of even things like pension, So with a lot of women in that sector, you can see the limitation around that, when it comes to economic security in the long to medium term. A lot of them live hand to mouth, so the moments, and that's came up even during the lockdowns, and what led to a lot of, hunger and all that, and desperation, because for most people, it's hand to mouth. If they don't go out there, they are not going to earn anything. And then also generally for women in the who own their own businesses, for instance. I have friends who are self-employed, have their own businesses and all that. And for most of them, the security would come with they being able to optimize whatever they are doing. And that means they need external capital to be able to do that, and that also comes with a lot of barriers, because of collateral, because even where they submit all the documents, there is always that discrimination in terms of how women's business acumen is assessed and all that. So a lot of times they are not able to optimize what they are doing because it's just a little capital they have that they continue to invest in whatever they are doing. And there is a lot of competition out there, so if you are not investing a lot in what you are doing, then in the long to medium term, you fall along the way. One of the things I love about AWDF is that we get the opportunity to visit the grantee partners. And I remember one of the countries we visited, the women were doing income generating activities. And if I look at their location, where they are located and what they are producing, how long it takes for them to produce what they are producing, I'm like, how will this ever be sustainable, in the medium to long term? But take if they have the opportunity to, have a market, a readily available market, for instance, that will be taking the produce, and then also kind of building their capacity to be able to produce more, at a faster rate, then you can see that expansion happening. But here they are spending a lot of time, producing all these artifacts and in a location where you have very little people engaging in the market in the first place, so these are also some of the challenges that the women face. The market itself is not available, and then the capacity really to also look at the business in terms of how they can expand, how they can increase productivity and efficiency and all those other things all require resource investments, so there is a limitation there as well, so all in all, I would say that it really matters in terms of equality that we are looking out for, that women, are economically secure, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done around that, as I've mentioned, because sometimes the enabling environment is not there. There are, in some countries, there are still limitations when it comes to restrictions on movements of women. Even at my age, there are some spaces that I wouldn't want to go at certain times of the day, because I am conscious about my own security, and if you look at some of the risks that some women continue to face in their ability to earn an income and all that, not everybody would want to venture into those spaces, so the enabling environment really matters. And then policies really looking at how some of them affect women. Sometimes the aggregated data is even not there. I remember years ago, I was doing a research on one of the government agencies that give grants to up and coming enterprises. And when I asked for the disaggregated data in terms of women versus men they've supported, like, oh, madam, we don't have that. We just look at the number of people that we have supported. But that information is critical, in terms of making sure that what is it that is limiting women in getting access to that support that is readily available. So it's a combination of factors. But as I said, in summary, when I think about economic security, it's about all the aspects, that would enable women to also fully participate in the market and achieve their full potential without any restrictions or any obstacles or discrimination put in their way. And there is a lot to be done around that.
You brought up so many points that, as a young woman, I think about in my personal life, but I've never thought about them in congruence with being able to be a woman who does business and who can earn an income, especially if you're doing business, you're self-employed, if you're entrepreneurial. And yeah, it's given me a lot to think about. That was Gertrude Bibi Annoh Quarshie, Director of Operations at AWDF. As she spoke, I hope you were taking note. She had a lot of gems to share about economic empowerment for women in Africa, economic security for women in Africa. I hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you again.